Koko nyamiri, nyamiri, koko nyamiri, nyamiri. Ibole, ibole, ibobono, ndamamihe. Ibole, ibole, ibobono, ndamamihe. Ebulianyelu, 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 ebulianyelu. Anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Anamabara nọ n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike. Koko nyamini, nyamini.
Afrunge, I see you, I hope you see me. As I pour libations today, I'm going to pour it in this receptacle. And I'm going to use water, not wine, not rice, not honey. These are possible items I could use to pour libations. Some things that you can sprinkle on the ground, you can pour on the ground. I pour libations today first and foremost in the glorious name of Chineke. Chi, the male energy, masculine energy of the Creator, and Eke, the feminine energy of the Creator. I pour libations and I say, Ise means and so it is in Igbo Nigerian language. I pour libations to the four winds, east, west, north, and south. I say Ise. I pour libations in honor of the great ancestors, the great grandmothers, the great grandfathers. Ise. I pour libations and ask for their wisdom to continue to flow through me, be accessible through the power of my spirit. Ise. I pour libations today in honor of all that is good in the universe, the sun, the moon, the wind, the oceans, everything that gives us life, everything that supports life on earth. I pour libations in their honor. I pour libations and call upon the Creator in all the names that we use to call upon the Creator. Chineke, Oludumare, Kamana, Jinami, Kakanda, Nkosi, Ubuzilele. God has a different name in different tongues. Call upon Chineke. We call upon you today. We ask for good health. We ask for high moral quality. We have asked for peace and love, which is within the personal ability of each and every one of us. We call upon the spirit of those individuals that have made it to the ripe old age of 80, because we realize that we reincarnate. We have 7 opportunities to get our lives right. So for those who have made it to the age of 80, we pour libations today and call upon their names. We pour libations in honor of those who are still on their journey, who have not made it to age 80. We wish them well wherever they are. We call upon the spirit of those yet unborn, and we ask that when they come into this earth, that they will inherit nothing but the goodness that we ourselves have put in front of them, that we have done to ensure that they live a fruitful and healthy life. We call upon the spirit of our personal ancestors, and I ask you this time to call upon your ancestors. Come on, call upon my mother who has become an ancestor, Musa, Ngozi Musa, Noha, Ngozi, Musa, Onyoha. I call upon you today, your journey, may your journey be bright. You made it to the right old age of 91. We want you to be with us, to continue your journey. But your journey is now, you have elevated to ancestorhood. So we ask you to continue to watch over us, to protect us from all evil. Stay in front of us, behind us, beside us. Anything that we touch, may it turn into gold. Help us to see any dangers in front of us. Help us to see any dangers anywhere around us. I ask all of you to please call upon the names of your ancestors. Call them, because if you don't, that means that they didn't exist, and that means you certainly don't exist. So I call upon your ancestors. And we'll ask you to make noise for the ancestors. Make noise for the ancestors. Please make noise for the ancestors, because when you make noise for the ancestors, you acknowledge them, you let them know that you still have their names on your tongue. You acknowledge them, you let them know that they still matter. You acknowledge them by letting them know that you appreciate the fact that they live. Thank you, Chineke, for this wonderful opportunity that you've given us, for breath, for the ability to walk, for the ability to eat, for the ability to do all those things that sometimes we take for granted, but we shouldn't. And so I am going to end my libations with a famous libation song. Ogeke Chineke kama, chiri ya numaburu na oga hudi anya, chiri ya ekwedula kopi gijamba, chiri ya numoge buru, oga biyakwa, chiri ya chukukigwe onechetagi, chiri ya odigimbe onechefugi, chiri ya leziani he banyeregi, anile ni metu Chineke nobi. Chineke's time is always the best. Sometimes it seems like your blessings are taking too long coming. Just be patient. Know that when the time is right, the Most High, the noble ancestors will come forward with what your needs are and bless you more than you can even ever imagine. They will bless you. They will bless you. You're already blessed. Know it, believe it, and act it. And so it is. I say, Ise. And finally, I ask you to call your names. Wherever you are, call your name. Because someday, you want to be an ancestor. You want to get to be the age of 80. So when you put your name out there in the universe will respond and will help you to achieve ancestorhood. Keep living. Keep living. Keep living. Yakasi. Offer. Ise. And so it is. And so it is. I take some water. I sprinkle on the floor. I sprinkle on myself. And I will take some of this water and I'll sprinkle all around me just to cool the temperature, to remove anything in my path that will do me any harm. And so it is. Takasie, I see you. I hope you see me. And so it is.
Woo! Good morning.
That was beautiful.
My brother,
Well,
oh,
I tell you what, I'm so happy to be looking at you right now on the screen. So let's go. Let's do it. Hopefully, technical issues have been resolved. And we do apologize for our patrons. We had a little mix up with the time. So while folks are expecting that this show is going to be live at 4:30 p.m. today, is actually live now, the usual time. Somebody named Moke de Charles Ugochukwu actually has just joined us. So he got the assignment, he got the message. So hopefully our patrons will start coming in and not wait till 4:30, to get live with us. So let's do it.
Hey, you know what they say.
Oh,
when you wake up, it's your morning.
Yes,
so for us, it's now morning time.
True.
You just joined us. There's no time reserved strictly for Chineke. Chineke is around any old time. You know what I'm saying?
24/7.
When the time is right, that's when, you know. So we are. I know I sound a little raspy. My voice sounds a little raspy. It's a combination of things: excitement and a little bit of cold. Combined, you get excitement. Oh my goodness!
True.
Welcome, everybody. But God is so good, so good. Before we go any further, I just want to say hello. I want to say hello to my brother Dibia Chiedozie. He was sick. He's sick, and well, he was sick last week. We hopefully he's got better. You know, there's always a hope, and I'm sure he will join us. If he doesn't join us, he joins us spiritually. They were to Charles to Wokedi or Gochuku. Hey, before we even go, before we go there, I just want us to congratulate Charles.
Yes, he did it. He did it. I'm so proud of him. I've been proud of Charles from the first day that he attended, one of our shows. His level of consistency in being a patron of this show tells you a lot about this young man. And consistently, like today, he has always been a great supporter of ours. When Ninoha passed away and we went to Nigeria, Ugochukwu came from Port Harcourt and spent 3 days in the village. That level of consistency, and then gets involved with this Google engineering program and carried the same consistency into this program and completed it. We can't be any prouder of Ugochukwu as we are right now. Kudos, young man. Congratulations. You are a great African, and you just proved it.
And there he is. Engineer Ukunda Ugochukwu. I am so proud of you. I am so proud. You see, let me tell you, this is what happens when people don't make excuses. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
When people see an opportunity and grab it and run with it and don't make excuses, I don't have power, I don't have this. And this young man, he told me, I want this opportunity. And I said, don't lose it. Take it and run with it. And that's what he did. Now he's an engineer. He's got the engineering certificate with Google.
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
That's
for project manager. Project manager
That's
now.
Beautiful.
And he has created his website. He has created his website. And we're going to help him get a good paying job because of the consistency. See, this is what all of us need to know. When you wake up, it's your morning. It's never too late to climb. It's never too late to rise. When Chineke is ready for you and you're ready to receive, you don't have your hands clenched, you will get what you need. You will get what you need. And this young man has proven to me and to us that it isn't what people call you. It's what you answer to. It's not what people tell you can do. It's what you tell yourself that you can do. There were hundreds of people given this opportunity. Now, many more of them, I'm sure, are going to graduate. But he's the first graduate. So now he is going to get an engineering job, IT job. He set up his website. We're going to work with him on that. And tomorrow, very soon, we'll be talking about a job that he has gotten. Pride is all I can say about this young man. We are proud. We are proud. Congratulations. 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 And he says, thank you all. You are so welcome. You are welcome, Wokedi. You are so welcome. We're so proud of you. We just thought we should let you know that. Yes. And what does that say, Dibia? It also says that we have a responsibility. Okay? We have a responsibility to our own people. You know, it's not about preaching and praising and stumping. You know, it's not about
a rising tide lifts all boats. Yes.
Yes. So his association with Chiism, his association with OMSI, I mean, he has just been, the tide rose and carried him along, and he was prepared on
We are the tide. OMSI is the tide. OMSI is the tide. Chiism is the tide. So Global Faith Ministry is the tide. I am so proud of Ugochukwu. And I have to say this. Let me say this to you. Okay, Dibia. Yes. Yes. I am so proud of you. I'm proud of you for your consistency. I'm proud of you for your umoja. Yes. I'm proud of you for your love for your people, for people of African ancestry. I am proud that you wake up every day at this stage in our lives. Yes. From how many years ago we've been on this march, that you've been on this march, and you've remained consistent. Can you imagine if we as Africans remained this consistent about our freedom?
And hopeful
about everything about us, and prideful of who we are, of our primordial core, of our culture, of our religion. Yes. All the aesthetics associated with being African. Nobody is perfect. No culture is perfect. We all have things that, you know, we wish we could get rid of, and so on and so forth. But the core identity of the African, you have always represented that. And I'm not just saying it as your brother or as an official in a global faith ministry. I'm saying it as somebody who can see, how do you say, the light of Chineke emanate. Yes. And you represent that. Yes. And I just want to thank you for being steadfast in your commitment to help people of African ancestry all over the world to maybe once day say, we have truly overcome up here.
Yes. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I mean, I'm telling you, and we're talking about Africa rising. This is a subject today. And it is important for us to understand that the rise we're talking about is not just our own personal rise. It is the rise of everyone. You know, whatever tide took you up there, you understand? Make sure that that same tide carries everybody else. The problem that we're having right now in Africa, as we are experiencing all these coups, is because leadership is now focused on the people. Leadership, our leaders are not healthy mentally. You know, we say, as we strive, do unto others as we do it. You know, we talk about this all the time. Do unto others as you have Chineke do unto you. Because if you really believe in Chineke, you will do unto others as you want Chineke to do to you. Because a lot of us are not healthy. Mentally, spiritually, we're not well. So if we're not well, how in the world are we going to seek well-being for somebody else? Our leaders are not healthy mentally. They need help. You see, because what they don't see, what they see for themselves, they don't see for the other people. And the thing about it is that Africa is so wealthy. I mean, beyond measure. I saw a video recently of this big boulder of gold, never found anywhere in the world but in Africa. Big boulder of gold, pure unadulterated gold. We've got all kinds of things being discovered on the continent. We are rich. We are rich. Chineke has blessed us beyond measure.
Immeasurable.
We got it all, y'all. We have it all. What is it? Name it, put it on the table, and I tell you what African country you can find it. We got it all. The rest of the world really need us. But because we're not healthy, because our leaders are not well, because they're most concerned about their pocketbook, about the well-being of their families, about their own cocoon, that's why we're not moving forward. Not because we're poor. Not because we're poor. We are richer beyond measure. But when you have people who are leading, just like the blind leading the blind, you have blind people leading Africa. You're going to keep having the problems. And thus, this is why we got all this coup. See, if you don't like coup, I'm going to tell you, Dibia Yudi, I am not for coup. Okay? I don't believe in coup. However, if democracy is not working, what do you want the people to do? The whole purpose of democracy is to serve nations. It's for the people to determine who their leaders will be, and those leaders serve them. But the people determine who they want, but then somebody else comes along and selects someone. And often those people selected don't have the interest. It's almost like it's who can loot more than the other. Who
competition more of corruption.
You see what I'm saying? So you've got, we need to really, really understand where Africa is and why Africa must move forward. Why we must move forward. Because you cannot stay where you are when the rest of the world is moving. If you want to know where the rest of the world is moving, check out what's going on with China. Check out what's going on with India. And I'll let you talk about that later. But check out what's going on in the Western Front. What are you doing? The only reason why you're not moving forward is because spiritually you're not well. Spiritually, you're not well. Now, Yudi, before we have this conversation, we're not the only ones talking about what religion has done to us. Okay, we're not the only one.
Yeah.
I want to play this video, and then we'll take it on the backside after this video plays, because this video pretty much talks about what we are talking about in terms of now. It's not just about getting new leadership. You also have to get your mind right.
Absolutely.
Emancipation can't just be economic opulence, not how much technology you've acquired, but your spiritual emancipation is very important, because it has a tendency to make you vulnerable over and over and over, and you don't see straight. It doesn't allow you to live in the now or in the present, in where you are, to uplift and clean up where you are and raise up people around you, because your mind is elsewhere. And as long as it's focused elsewhere, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how much do you think we don't have the economic power? Of course we do. We got all the resources, but what is the problem? Our minds are not right. We keep electing, like here in the United States, they are talking about electing a man who's been accused of every kind of crime you can think about.
I mean, it's not
crimes, but you want to re-elect him. So the people got to get it right. The people have the responsibility to get it right if anything should be right. So let me play this video. This video is important, and it has to do with the Holy Book. Now, because many of us believe in the Holy Book, but you need to rethink and focus on what this man is Lumumba. I believe that's his name.
Yeah, Professor Lumumba, Dr.
Yes.
Lumumba.
Okay, so I want you just listen to him. Just listen to him, and then we'll take it on the back end. All right. No.
The Bible has been misused. It has been used to support slavery. It has been used to support colonization. It has been used to pervert the truth. The Bible is now the greatest instrument in creating false industries in the continent of Africa. And that is not to be celebrated. It is to be frowned upon. And we who claim to be Christians, and I normally use this very deliberately, we claim to be Christians. As to whether we are is another debate. We'll only discover that a little later when we are in heaven. And therefore, when we talk about rediscovering, we are saying that it was once discovered. But let us situate the Bible in its proper place. Christianity as we know it today in the continent of Africa was midwifed to us in the continent through Europe, through the missionaries. When they came, they were reading the very same Bible that we are reading today. When they sat in Berlin and were dividing the continent of Africa, they were reading the same Bible that we are reading today. The same Bible in which in Paul's letter to the Galatians at chapter 3:28, he says, there are no Jews, no Gentiles, no slave, no free, no woman, no man. They read that verse. It was not interpolated later after they came. They read it. But they came here and conquered us. They came here and discriminated against us. The same Bible. They were being mentored by that very same Bible. They came here when they had divided the body of Christ. The English had appropriated the religion in 1534, and they now had their Anglican church, complete with the monarch as its head. The Scots had appropriated their own, and they had the Presbyterian church. The Greeks had their Greek Orthodox. The Armenians, the Armenian Orthodox. The Roman Catholics were even bolder. They called it the Roman Catholic Church. So that even when they are in Uganda, it's not Ugandan Catholic Church, it is the Roman Catholic Church. And you are going there and you are saying you are Roman Catholic Church. In apartheid South Africa, they are the Dutch Reformed Church, which became the foundation stone upon which apartheid was articulated in 1948 by Hendrik Verwoerd and his cohorts. So the Bible has been misused. Don't be cheated. Let's not be nice to each other because we are Christians. The Bible has been misused. It has been used to support slavery. It has been used to support colonization. It has been used to pervert the truth. That is the Bible that we are saying we ought to rediscover. So when we are gathered here as Christians and we are talking about rediscovery of mentorship in the Bible, we must have a spirit that is a questioning spirit.
Record your message, press 3. For delivery options, press 4. To send a fax,
well, we have a very unstable internet today.
I noticed.
Yeah, it just keeps going in and out. And so anyway, what do you think about that video? I apologize, everyone, for the internet challenges, but go ahead, you.
For us in Chiism and Guardianism, he was preaching to the choir, but message understood, yes, and message received. And this is the kind of conversation that we're supposed to be having. This is the kind of conversation that we need to address when we want to find out about all these coups that are going on in Africa. Let me give you an interesting fact. In the last 2 years, 6 countries across Western and Central Africa have suffered what the UN calls an epidemic of coups, you know. And on Wednesday, Gabon joined the party. Since 1950, there has been 486 attempted or successful military coups all over the world. And out of that 486, 214 happened in Africa. And out of the 214, 106 of them were successful. The way I look at it, it's not really about the coups. I mean, if you have bad leadership, what are you supposed to do? Stay there and suck it up? If you have leaders that don't care about the population, that enrich themselves and gorge themselves with all manner of luxury at the expense of the people that are charged to govern, at the expense of the people that are charged with making their lives a lot better, easier to manage, giving opportunities to those people that they supposedly rule over or govern. If you have a government that doesn't provide those kinds of opportunities, infrastructure, from business to medicine to roads to air travel to what have you, electricity, clean water supply. If you have government, for example, in Gabon that has been in power for 56 years and you have not been able to accomplish that, why would anybody care if the military comes in and gets rid of you, as long as the military is doing it on behalf of the people in the hopes that they could now come up with better leadership that will address the economic, medical, and social issues of that particular country or community. That is not happening in Africa. All the leaders, as you had mentioned, Okedibia, all the leaders are more interested in their own personal aggrandizement, gorging themselves with ill-gotten loot that belongs to the people all across sub-Saharan Africa. It is not about taking over a government militarily that is actually successful and doing for the people. None of these coups has anything to do with any government that has been successful in dealing with its people on an economic level, social level, or what have you. It is not about getting rid of governments that have been successful in identifying issues that need to be resolved in their respective countries. That's not what that is all about. It's all about people who have had it and then create opportunity for somebody to come in and take over a government. Then now you have to worry about what their intentions are. Are they in there for the good of the people to establish a government that is accountable? Or are they in there to get their own turns, since the civilian government has been looting the country so much that those in the military are suffering economic hardship or are not having their issues addressed? Is it about the military versus the supposedly legitimate government? Or is it about the military representing the people like Thomas Sankara did in Burkina Faso? Or the new guy, Touare, the 35-year-old president of Mali. What is the intention here? So what we're going to do is let's delve into cause and effect. Why are we having this coup? I submit to you that the number one reason why we're having these coups is because we're confused. Let me quote Julius Nyerere for you, former president of Tanzania. He was a founding member and chair of the Tanganyika African National Union called TANU, the TANU Party, and its successor, Mr. Mapinduzi. From 1954 to 1990, ideologically, he's an African nationalist and promoted a political philosophy known as Ujamaa. What is Ujamaa? Ujamaa is unity. Nyerere believed that when a society cares about the people, when your leadership cares about you, and that person wants to work, then the individual should not have to stress about their living situation. Traditional African society also plays a big role in Nyerere's mind with the creation of the principle of Ujamaa, unity and love. People have to be unified. Before the Europeans came to Africa, we practiced what is called African socio-economic system. And one of the primary tenets of this economic system, number one, is primary economic capital, which is land. And land was communally owned. People didn't own land individually, as you see in the West or in modern Western economics. Labor was communal. Everybody toiled that land. Individuals engaged in private enterprises, which is capitalism. So the African socio-economic system was not devoid of capitalism. It was just a different kind of capitalism. Not individually based, but communally based. And within that community, individuals were able to set up private enterprises to make a living. Everybody worked, regardless of social status. We had a classless society. No position attracted special privilege and tribute. There were no serfs, no squatters. Everybody had the right to own family land and personal property. Everybody and future generations were guaranteed economic and social security. Now, let me ask you, is that going on in Africa? Is there any foreign economic system in Africa that guarantees economic and social security to its citizens? That doesn't exist. We are confused. We are running an economic system that is based on the principles that was forced upon us by the colonizer, by the enslaver. We're running their principles. And the economic system that we're running in Africa is designed to serve them, not serve us. All they have to do is guarantee a few puppet presidents and heads of state access to wealth, to resources, and a guarantee that they could stash their loot in these foreign countries, in Britain, in Switzerland, in the United States. And some of these people were put into power by the Western governments. They had the support of the colonizers before they got into power. And that's for the most part. And those people that got into power without the auspices of anybody else with the intentions of helping the people got into power and actually changed the country. An example would be Rawlings of Ghana, or Thomas Sankara, or former upper voter that was renamed Burkina Faso. Yes, he was assassinated a few years later by his own friend, his own lieutenant, who was supported by the French government. Why was he assassinated? Because he was doing for the people, and the economic opulence of Burkina Faso was not what the French government wanted, so they got rid of him so that they could continue to have a puppet that will allow them to continue to have resources or access to the resources in Mali for their own economic development, not for the development of Mali or Burkina Faso, or any country that is affected by the French. My sister, Dibia, we had a conversation one time, and she had asked me a question. When you have malaria, is your problem the fever? Or is your problem the headaches, throwing up? Your problem is not the fever. Those are symptoms. Your problem is the mosquito. And the mosquito is the West, your enslaver and your colonizer. The parasite is their religion, and the malaria is the condition other African globally in this world. The headache is the bad leadership and corruption. The chills is the self-loathing, self-hatred, the disunity amongst ourselves. The Jamaican sees himself different from the Haitian. The Haitian sees himself different from the Liberian. The Liberian sees himself or herself different from the Nigerian. The Nigerian sees himself different from the Zulu, so on and so forth. But we forget that when the West looks at you, they're not interested whether you're Kenyan or Ugandan or from Gabon or from Mali or African American or a Jamaican. They see a black person, and the same hate that they have for us under the sun as people, as God's creation, this level of vitriol and hate that they have for the black man and woman is global, regardless of where you are situated on the globe. I mean, Jamaicans were not naturally, from the island of Jamaica. They came from Africa. But for the most part, most of the Jamaican population, when you talk about their African ancestry, they don't want to hear it. Somehow they think they're so special because they're in Jamaica and they're not on the continent of Africa. So that makes them a whole lot better. Well, I got news for you. That is not true. The European sees the Jamaican the way they see the Kenyan, the Zulu, the Nigerian, the Haitian. They see us the same way. There is no difference. For us to curtail the number of coups in Africa, we have to do a whole lot of self-examination and find out why we're so prone to coups, especially since 1950. And most of the countries that are mired in coup since 1950 have one thing in common. None of them is culturally original in how they govern, in their social economic systems. They are all borrowers from Western culture, all of them. To examine the cause of the coups in Africa, we have to look inward and find out why is that. We know about the bad leadership and all that stuff and the corruption, which are symptoms of the larger problem. But I'm here to tell you that the main reason why we have coups in Africa is because we've been trying to, since slavery ended and since colonization ended, we've been trying to build a castle on sand. We've been trying to build a nation on sand. We've been trying to build a nation, African nation, the balkanized African nations by the West on principles that are not African in origin. Pan-Africanism in general is a movement with a common goal of unifying Africans and eliminating colonialism and white supremacy from the African continent, which, if that is successful, will also benefit our diasporan African communities. We have to really go back to the great Africans like W.E.B. Du Bois, the Marcus Garveys, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Julius Nyereres, the Ahaike Onyohas, the Kenneth Kawundas, the Nelson Mandelas. Nelson served 4 years after spending 27 years in jail and gave up the presidency. He didn't install himself as president for life. He wasn't thinking about himself. He was thinking about the people. He sacrificed 27 years of his life for the people of South Africa, became president, and gave up that power to the next generation. It is continuity of founding primordial principles that is very important. How do you have leadership? For example, in Rwanda, when Kagame leaves Rwanda, people complain about the fact that he's been president for what, 22 years or whatever. But in what condition is Rwanda in now when you compare it to where it was before he came into power 22 years ago when Hutus and Tutsis were killing each other? Go to the street and talk to the average Rwandans. They will tell you, we want Kagame there. Do you know why they want Kagame there? They want Kagame there because Kagame, in his own way, is practicing African socio-economic system where everybody, where the future generations are guaranteed economic and social security. Most people there got jobs. People are not sitting around worrying about what their economic future is going to be like. It is not enough for you to start to talk about Kagame as abusing human rights. I remember I was watching an interview where they were asking him about his abuse of human rights in Rwanda. And he says to them, who are you? What makes you think that you have a monopoly on human rights? Say, let me explain to you what human rights is. Human rights is having access to good education. Human rights is having access to good medical care, to good economic opportunities. Those are the canons of human rights. It's not about me going to being president for 4 years or 8 years, then I got to give it up to somebody because the West told me to do so. My only appeal to Kagame is when you eventually leave power, please make sure that you have put people in place that will continue your policies so that Rwanda can continue to be economically viable. But Pan-Africanism is the key. Self-love. We must come together as one. We must eliminate this balkanization of Africans. We must come together, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, as one nation, create regions where we all come together for the common good. W.E.B. Du Bois says, if true unity comes, when we in our African communities globally are willing to give up a little bit of ourselves for the good of the whole, that's true Pan-African thinking, because we are under invasion. We've been under invasion for a long time.
That's right.
And it's going to get worse because of the wealth of Africa that the world is coming after. China is coming after it. The United States is coming after it. Europe is coming after it. Russia is coming after it. They are all coming after us. And the only way that we could fight against this onslaught that is on its way is for us to practice Ujamaa, for us to unite as one. That is the only way. And instead of us talking about invading Niger and Mali with ECOWAS troops and all that stuff, we should be asking, why are we having these coups? And what can we do to create living conditions where it is not going to be necessary for anybody to think about having a coup? They're not thinking about it in the United States. They've been economically viable and successful and looked after their people. Unless you're Donald Trump and belong to today's Republican Party, where racism is the #1 motivation.
That's right.
For their, quest for power.
Power. And I think you ended it correctly. That power is what's driving. Power is what's driving these leaders. See, power, once you taste that power, and within, as you serve as the head of a nation, and you have all that power, and then you have all.
I think you're freezing up a little bit. But anyway, until she comes in, power, yes, power is key. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And most of these leaders in these countries, some suffering from coups now, some ripe for a coup happening in them, is because the leaders in these countries are interested in absolute power. And with absolute power comes absolute corruption. People, let's just get serious. What is it about the black man and the black woman that is causing this addiction that we have with foreign religion? Now, when we talk about foreign religion, people get all in arms and they get all upset. You know, you shouldn't be talking about the Lord and all that kind of stuff. But what is it about foreign religion? What do we find in these foreign religions, Abrahamic religions in particular, of Islam, Judaism, and Christianism, that is absent in our own spiritual or traditional religions in Africa? Monotheism is the building block of African spirituality. We don't have religious heroes. We don't have to go through Muhammad, go through Christ, and think about going through somebody to get to God. Chineke is personal. Mona Chiso, I walk with God. The Chi spirit is in me. Do unto others as you like others to do unto you. It's all part of that Chi spirit. Bidi can bidi, live and let live. It's all part of it. We have a problem in Africa, and that problem is affecting every part of our lives: economic, infrastructure, corruption, love, hatred, self-hatred. Like Malcolm X asked, who taught you to hate your lips, your nose, your skin color? You see Africans, particularly women, bleaching their skin to hell. Till you see an African woman looking like she just came out of the Netherlands or from Sweden or something. Hating everything about yourself. Loving everything about your colonizer, your tormentor. When you take a people's concept of God away from them, they become stupid, destitute, and violent, and will forever justify their worth by standards that are not of their own. And that's what's going on in Africa right now. We're doing everything that is foreign to us and neglecting everything that is natural to us, that is primordial to us, that is part of our environment, that should create economic opportunities. Not just about the minerals, but culture. Do you know that the biggest industry in the world is tourism? Now let's look at Africa with its diverse cultures, all having commonalities, but it's diverse in the way it's interpreted, in the names that we give to our deities, the names that we give to Chineke, the creator, to God, to Yahweh, Uvuzalele, Nkulunkulu. Many names for God. Tourism, with the right mindset. Let's look at the River Zanzibar, the Victoria Falls, Aso Rock in Nigeria, all the natural beautiful formations, the tourism, the billions of dollars generated every year in Egypt because of the pyramids. Think of all the beautiful, Table Mountain in South Africa, Drakensberg Mountains, all kinds of rivers and lakes and beautiful things about the African continent that will attract people if you just create an environment where people are willing to come, feel safe, enjoy these natural resources, and leave. You go to China, the Great Walls of China. Just that structure alone generates billions of dollars every year in tourism money for the economy of China. You go to sub-Saharan Africa, you will not find one edifice. I mean, recently, they have one that was just erected, I think, in Dahomey with the Dahamian female army, the female warriors of Dahomey, in the 19th century. And they just erected a statue that is pretty tall. I think it's about 100 and something feet tall. There's one in Senegal that is, I think it's 160 feet tall. But let's talk about places of worship, things that identify us religiously, spiritually. Go all over China. You see all the pagodas and you see the Buddhist temples and all that. Go to Japan, Shinto temples. You go to India, all kinds of temples, the Taj Mahal and all that stuff. We had them through the pyramids, which was knocked down in 1931. And today, nobody even knows, unless you get on the internet and do some research, or maybe you accidentally come upon it. Nobody even knew that we had pyramids in eastern Nigeria, Mkporo area, Abreba. These things were, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet tall. They existed. You don't hear about it now. OKDB is back, and I'll hold my thought and then let her continue what she was saying.
Thank you. Again, let me apologize. I don't know what's going on in our area, but the internet service here is about.
And she's frozen again. The internet there is really, really, really terrible.
It's back.
Yeah, it's frozen.
Huh?
No, you were frozen for a minute. So I was about to get back into my
yeah,
talk.
I know. I was just going to say, if that happens again, Chia as a matter of fact, he's trying to come in and he's having difficulty as well. So for whatever reason, we're just battling with internet today. But thank God for UD, wherever he is, his internet is working.
It's working fine right here. Yeah.
That's fine. So before I disappear again, and you take over, I just want to give you a thought that you can share should we have the difficulty of this internet again. And that is, quite frankly, everybody is, the rest of the world wants to go and help those countries that have experienced a coup. They want to go in there and help them to reestablish democracy. So it's important for us to define democracy. This is European democracy, okay? So democracy is a system of government and form of liberalism in which state power, listen, state power is vested in the people, not the leader, in the people or the general population of a state, based on principles, and let me say that with an emphasis, liberty and free will. So the question we have to ask ourselves, in these countries where the coup are happening, is that what democracy is based on? Is that what they're practicing? If you want to breathe, Dibia Yudi, if a person wants to breathe and you have your knee on their neck, or you have a rope around their neck and you're strangling them, what do you want them to do?
And then telling them to breathe while you're strangling them.
As you're strangling them, you're telling them to breathe.
Ridiculous.
What happens is, after a while, the person that you're holding down will want to breathe. Right now, our people are not breathing. The poverty is unexcusable because it shouldn't be. When you look at a country like Gabon, 2.something million people with so much wealth, and yet a man and his son carry billions.
Ridiculous.
Look, some guy said, it was a pastor who asked the question, when you die, that money means nothing anymore. You don't need that. What are you going to even do with that much money? What are you doing with billions of dollars? You can only buy so many cars. You can only buy so many houses. You can only buy so many planes. You can only travel so many places. What do you need to do why are you amassing that much wealth when your people are struggling?
Ill-gotten wealth.
Ill-gotten wealth. The country does well when everybody does well. Chineke, the Most High, gave us all these blessings for a reason. All these blessings. See, sometimes we think that blessing comes in a piece of paper that's man-made, that you can trade for something you want. Show me a billionaire who's dying today, Yudi, that will not trade places with you. that will not give you his billions so that he can just be able to inhale and exhale as you do. The biggest gift, the biggest opportunity, the biggest wealth is the ability to breathe, to inhale and exhale, to walk amongst the living, to enjoy something as simple as drinking water, to be able to take a step up, down the road, go for what? This thing that people are fighting for is nothing but a piece of paper that is worth nothing when you are death's door. So it's okay to share. Take as much as is necessary, but the rest belongs to the people. Give it to them. It doesn't make sense that the people who own the nation are on the ground picking up scraps. It doesn't make sense that one man, Tinubu of Nigeria, travels with 120 something vehicles.
Ridiculous.
We're following him where? Where is he going with that much vehicle? And then the rest of the country is shut down because one man is going where? Where is he going? People are hurting. People are struggling. What is motivating these leaders to think that it's okay to amass all that wealth while the rest of the people? Why are you surprised that there are coups? Now let's just say something. It is the reason why I'm not for coups necessarily is because it doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are coming in, are going to be any different. Because a lot of them maybe don't even have the background for leadership. It's just a spontaneous thing. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not necessarily saying, okay, let's have coup. Who's taking over? But the point of the matter is, if we believe that we are working for the people, for you who believe in God, for those of them who say they believe in God, if you're working for the people, you're working for God. Not be so.
Yeah.
Not be so. If you say you they work for people now God you they work for. Because we say, Madubuchibea, Monachiso, right where I am, God is. If that's the case, why are you surprised there are coups to get you out of there? Because guess what? Perhaps Chineke say, you don't know what you're doing. Let's try somebody else. May not be a very good person, but sometimes God has a way of clearing the path for something new to happen.
Yeah.
And he may just take you out of the picture because you don't know what you're doing. Akum Dirubani. That's African spiritual philosophy. Akum Dirubani. My wealth lies in my people. My wealth, that's why Rwanda is flourishing. He understands. I was listening to him. The wealth of the nation lies in the people. If the people are doing well, then the nation does well. Look, let me tell you something. Many people do not even care what money you're taking from if they are they're not focusing how much they are focusing on what am I getting because you're here.
What are you doing for us? What
are you doing for me? Why should we keep you here? If you're fighting and you don't want coup and you don't want all of that, then do the right thing. Do the right thing. African people should not be suffering. We're too rich. African people are too wealthy for this wickedness. This is not our way.
It isn't.
It's not African way. Back then, UD, how many Africans are master? Of course, we know the Mansa Musa is supposedly, the richest person. But believe it or not, most of the kings and the Ezes and the Obas and all that, it wasn't what they amassed. It's how the people feel about them. So your thing is, what is the legacy I'm leaving? How do the people feel about me? How are they reacting because I am Ubuntu? I am because you are because of me. Without you, I'm nothing at all. A rich man with all the power dies. And who comes to see him? All the rich people. And then you block the road so that the poor people can't come. Only rich people can come to your funeral. Then the man with all the power, only the powerful people come to his funeral. But the man with a heart, a man who gives, or a woman who gives to others, to give to the community, when that person passes away, the whole community comes out. Because that person touched them. That person saw them as human beings and treated them accordingly. Koniman die, Koniman bury him. No be so.
Not true.
The people that will come and mourn you are those people you surround yourself with. But when a kind person, a person who is about their people, when they pass away, the whole nation shuts down. Not because they are forced. It is not a forced memorial. It is because our friend, our leader, the heart has gone. They feel the pain. Many of these leaders, there's the one for Gabon. He's begging, please, the world, come on, make noise for me. Come and help me.
Nobody's making any noise for that guy.
They come catch me. Make una begin to vex for me. And what are the world doing? People are dancing in the street. Say, oh, you want us to make noise? And then that's their noise.
We're making noise. We're making noise because you're the hell out of here.
You're making noise because you're gone. And yet, you did remember when Nelson Mandela died. Hey, the whole world broke apart.
He's a legend.
When he passed away, when Kwame Nkrumah died,
yep.
When the greats die, people pour out because of the way you treated them. Listen, Yudi, it isn't about how much money these leaders have that's going to endear them to the population. It's not. There's an African song. It's a spiritual song. Imara madu gagangaya image madu inagangaya igahibe yumone igahibe yumole eziokumoja pego zodale echoga gini boom. He said, when you know somebody, when you have an affinity with somebody, when you love somebody, you go and see them. When you don't know them, when they don't make themselves available to you, it doesn't matter how many bags of water that of wealth they have beside them. Why are you going there? You have nothing in common. So democracy, as it's being practiced, is not the way it's supposed to be. And that is why when people are fighting to reinstate democracy, the people are saying, no, give us the coup. We're tired of suffering. Africa will be a better place today. The people will be happier when the leaders see the wisdom in catering for the well-being of the people. Nobody wants coups, but the coups will continue to happen unless these leaders. Now, I understand there are some leaders running around here talking about, firing military and police people because they're afraid of the coup. These military people that you are firing, does that endear them to you? They're suffering in the same country. They don't live aside, and it's not like they're making a lot of money. They're not. They're suffering with the citizens. The way to appease them is not to fire them for them to suffer more because they're not getting any money. How do you endear yourself to the military, to the police? By firing them so you can stay in power. That doesn't make sense. It's a temporary.
Now you've made enemies of those people.
Now you created enemies. When you ask a little girl, when you ask her, I look like you, she looks like the leader of Nigeria. The child fell apart. No, I don't say that. I hate that.
For the video.
That says a lot. That says a lot. Children should be looking up to their leaders because tomorrow they become leaders. I was watching, and I'll let Dibia Chiodozie, who has joined us. I was watching a video of a gentleman who works in Canada. And they were asking him, where does he prefer working? In Nigeria or in Canada? He says, well, while he's in Canada, he makes a lot of money. everything works smoothly. However, he prefers working in Nigeria. The reason why he prefers that is that nobody's breathing down his neck. He's doing what he's doing from the heart because he's doing for his people. It makes him happy to work there. But here in Canada, they demand you act this way. Like even his subordinates, even the people that he's responsible for, don't respect him because he's from Africa. They can't see how this black man from Africa can come here and tell them what to do. He wants to go home. But because of instability, he can't. He doesn't want to be outside of the look. Just so we all know, many Africans want to go home. We do,
including us. We do.
All of us. We love our people. We love our continent. But you want to go and do something.
Yeah.
And many have gone and have to come back because it didn't quite work out. Because all their dreams, all their goals, everything that they want to support, contribute, often it's not encouraged. But we want to go home, and we need these leaders. And when I say we want to go home, it doesn't mean, it's a global world. We don't want to be able to travel. I love living in America. I'm not going to lie about that. There are beautiful things about America, but I also love my home. I would like to be home. And many of us would like to be home. And hopefully, with these coups going on, I hate to say it, and I'm not encouraging coups, I said that earlier. With these coups, I'm hoping that the leaders will get the point and say, okay, I get it. I get it. An eye opener. I get it. It's about the people. We are going to serve the people now. There are many people outside of this, many African Americans want to go to Africa. They want to go back home. And some African nations are welcoming them. But many of the powerhouses, such as Nigeria, needs to get its act together. Many of the Francophone nations need to get their act together. People love Africa. They talk ill about Africa because it keeps the right people away. But Africa is perhaps one of the most beautiful, most caring people, the richest. But our leaders need to wake up. And those of us who are spiritually wrapped around foreign religions, it's time to wake up. Check into, do your research and find out the essence of the African spirituality. What are the value systems that you can learn from? Don't throw away African spirituality because somebody told you about all these negative things. And yet when you investigate, when you actually go in there, you see beauty. You see joy, love, respect for humanity, respect for nature. Find out before you reject African spirituality. It is not all about economic opulence and technological know-how. African spirituality must participate in this rising, so to speak. We must rise spiritually too. That's where our wisdom is. That's where our heart is. That's where our value system is. As long as we still pretend we want emancipation and we don't want to know about our spirituality, we're still going to remain in this rut. And having said that, I'm going to bring in our brother, Chidibia Chedozie Ndewo. How are you doing?
I'm glad you're doing better.
Yeah, I'm doing better.
Okay.
Yeah, but by doctor's advice, I can't last more than 1 hour on this program.
It's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've advised to take maximum rest for a whole month.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay,
Well,
that's good.
Please do. That's good. Please
That's
do.
good.
Your health is important.
Yeah.
We need you
Very
healthy.
important. Very important. Glad you're with us. And if you don't feel like doing a lot of talking, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So of course, talking it's with style, but what we're saying. It's something that comes from our spirit, so you don't know when it gets into you.
That is true.
Yeah.
So what is?
Well, you've heard what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that Africa is rising, and the
Sure.
spirituality must be a part of this rise. So share your thoughts with us, please.
Yeah, it's a good topic because, like we said the last time, from the libation we did to the analysis we made, and before we knew it, it's another coup in Gabon, and in Cameroon, in Equatorial Guinea, in Nigeria, there's a cabinet reshuffle, and even ministers, we hear ministers will be reshuffled, and all of that and all of that. And in Uganda, the man practically made his own household his security. So it means that Uganda has been reduced to Yoweri Museveni's household. And that's what Uganda is for now. But that's not going to stop anything, because Dibia Ochaja and Dibia, both of you just said it all. It is the wind of the time, and it obeys no one. I remember when one was growing up, I read about King Arthur of England, who took everything to be himself and just himself. And when it dawned on him that he was to be killed by the people, then he said, "Woe is me, authority knows no king." Of course, whatever you are is by the respect of the people. And at the end, but you live and the respect of the people is what makes you great.
Yes.
Because I remember one of my friends is a Yoruba and he's a journalist. He took me in when I was a Rolling Stone as a master student, and I lived with his family. He then used to live at Agege. Now he's living somewhere here, Habat Macaulay, Korodu Road, Onikpan. And Onikpan is a very volatile area. So I asked him, why didn't you go to VGC, Banana Island, with your status? He said, well, he doesn't want to go and live where people have to talk to machines, deal with dogs before they can come in and see him. He wants where people are his security. So that money is going to use to buy machines and buy dogs and pay security rate. 10% of it is enough for him to just pay per month and make some people human beings, and then they provide security for you. So while he was building his house there at Onipan, the area boys came and said, the usual thing, Babao, you have to see us. If you don't see us, you will not build. It's okay, so what's your price? They say, oh, just 250. Say, oh, 250, okay, but I'm going to give you 1 million. But after that, you do my bid. Whatever I say, they say, oh, Babao, what? So it's okay, come in 3 weeks' time, I give you the 1 million. So he gave that 1 million naira, and they were the one giving him information, protecting his everything. He lost no dime. When he came in there, he refurbished the security system to be human-centered, not gate-centered. And so the people there, they now control. That's the volatile area of area boys. So every month they contribute money. They now talk these boys into having handwork to do. Some of them, they help them to find handwork. So they sleep with their doors open. The boys swear that anyone that will come there and steal will have them to contend with. And the big men there are friends. Their daughters are safe, their children are safe. They can come home from abroad, and instead of being getting killed, they are protected. So the human being is the best shield you can get. And until we realize that the human being is the best shield we can get, then that means that the essence of Ohaneze, Obodo, is lost. The essence of society is lost. Society is human-centered. It's not material-centered. It is not any other thing centered. It's not individual-centered. It's people-centered. And once we lose that, then it's a question of time. When time is up, there's nothing we can do. And so, like we said the other time, all of them will be swept away by the wind. All of them. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with status. In fact, it may even happen that even one's own children at home will revolt against one. Like what happened during the election in February. the elders here on campus, university campus, were voting for Asiwaju. Their children were voting for Obi.
Yeah.
So the old generation were voting for Asiwaju. The new generation voted for Obi, and they are still canvassing for Obi till tomorrow. Now, the most funny thing is that there's a particular family. The parents call the children to educate the children why they must vote for Asiwaju and so on. And the children say, well, you can go, that's your generation. Our own generation, we are voting Obi. We want togetherness. We want our friends. We want a Nigeria where we go, we live in harmony with anybody, anywhere in Nigeria. Your own Nigeria, that's your dream. And so, you know, the funny thing, they didn't stop there. The children went, when they went to sleep, the children went to steal the voting card of the parents, the PVC of the parents, and then locked up the parents in the room and then went to vote. It was that funny. So that's the kind of revolution. So it's
their future, it's their country, it's their future.
It's their future. So you have defined your Nigeria. We want to define our own Nigeria. Please don't use your Nigeria to disturb our own Nigeria. So it is consciousness, and that's what Africa has required for long. We are third world because we have been put down there. Consciousness is what we lack, not the plenty under our ground.
That's right.
Once we attain that mental magnitude, the consciousness, we are going to turn our place into the El Dorado the world never dreamt of. Then Europe and America will come to buy from us. The reverse will be the case. That's what it took on.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like that anecdote, that last one with the parents.
Yes. And what you said about the fact that the rest of the world will come to Africa. And then when you've got France, okay, fighting to reinstate the old guard. Okay.
Sure.
That's because they don't want to negotiate.
No.
The terms
they never negotiated. Information. There are people gathering together there in the United States, not just the US, but the whole of America, Canada. Black consciousness is rising there. And they sent a video to the Nigerian president that should he dare to join France and US to invade Niger, they are going to pour in their thousands into Nigeria and make sure they slaughter Nigerians like chicken.
Yeah.
That they cannot, in this age, help to uphold the second colonization of Africa. So is that serious? That's the consciousness we're talking about. No guns, no machine guns, no artillery can stop consciousness. But Mali sang it long ago. So emancipate yourself from mental slavery. No atom bomb, nothing can stop you once you know where you are going. Freedom is freedom, and is a consciousness. Once it comes there, nothing stops it.
That's right. And that's what I was saying about the fact that the Niger has woken up. Okay, they understand that they have what everybody else is looking for. But they're not necessarily saying, initially anyway, they're not saying, oh, you cannot be a part of this experience. They're saying that we want to be the ones to negotiate the terms. Not you cannot tell us how to move our resources into your coffers, okay, without our permission, or intimidate us back into the way the things used to be. So now if you want some of what we've got, you have to negotiate with us. But no, France doesn't want that. No, we still want it to be the old way where you continue to be subservient to us. Now, like you said, it's a whole new day. People are moving towards not just the individual needs of Africans, but the collective needs. Umoja. That is the spirit of Africa right now. And the tentacles of Africa goes beyond the continent. It is into the African American and to the Caribbean, to the black. I mean, it's all over the world now. We see the picture When somebody tells you, go back to Africa, they think they're insulting you. They think they're insulting you. But they're not. Going back to Africa is a beautiful thing.
It's a dream.
We just need to take back the leadership, put the right leadership in there and take back our continent. Share what we must, but on our own terms. This is all this is about. And if these leaders will follow through, if these leaders will practice the whole definition of democracy and allow the people, you know, the power to be vested in the hands of the people and stop taking advantage of them, stop taking their free will, stop denying them liberty, I think that Africa will do better. Yudi?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You hit it on the head. Dibia Chido's here, you know, did the same thing. See, in African socio-economic system, group image was emphasized over individualism. And that is something that is lacking in our political system or economic system in Africa. As Stevie Biko says, the greatest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And as Dibia Chidozie rightfully stated, once your mind is emancipated, it's hard for anybody to put chains on you. No gun will ever make you accept something that is detrimental to you. You may cower down so that your temporary survival is guaranteed or assured to a certain extent. But in the end, that light that has been lit in your mind, the purification of your mind is going to stay with you forever. And that is your best tool or defense against imperialism. We just have to be emancipated. Just like you said, okay, Dibia, the Nigerians and the Malians are beginning to see that. What's going on in Gabon, it's a different thing altogether for me, because their current leader now is the first cousin of the person being deposed. And they always gained from his presidency before the coup. So I really don't understand why the military is back in power in Gabon, if it is not to say that this family has ruled for 56 years. And in this 56 years, they've destroyed the economy. The economy never grew. The layman and woman gained nothing from this leadership. This leadership is holding us back. This leadership is responsible for the current condition of Gabon, economically, socially, and otherwise. And we need new leadership. We need new blood that has an economic plan to bring us out of this abyss of hopelessness. It's all a mindset thing. And our great leaders, all these people that we revere, you know, the Nkrumahs and the Lumumbas and all that stuff, the Ahais. It is about the mind. And the mind in Africa needs to be emancipated to the extent that we value things that are African, that are authentically African, that are authentically traditional, that is spiritually relevant. You cannot build a castle on sand. A tree without deep roots is going to fall. Our culture, our religion, all human systems are products of religion. Our religion is the rock that we need to build our economic and social capacity on. And unless we do that, we're not going anywhere in Africa. Now, you could have I mentioned earlier on that in Africa, we've had, let me see what these numbers are again. I think it's 486 attempted coups all over the world. And out of that, 214 happened in Africa. And out of it, 106 of them were successful. Now, let's take the 106 that were successful. Apart from what happened in Ghana with Rawlings, can you name how many other successful regimes apart from Ghana and Rwanda? I'm not Rwanda, and Rwanda wasn't a coup. Burkina Faso with Thomas Sankara. Name any other coup that was beneficial to the Africans. The only one in Nigeria that would have been beneficial to us, they murdered him, Murtala Muhammad, who actually wanted a constitution that was based on African socio-economic system. And he said that openly to the world. Remember I wrote about the socio-economic thing, handed it to him, and he handed it to the Electoral Commission, and they said that it's never been tested. They canned it and then borrowed and took American democracy, synthesized it into this farce called Nigerian democracy. And that's what we've been living under. Nigeria has created a situation where corruption is so ingrained. You got 38 states in Nigeria. They're probably about to create more with 38 different governors. After the war, we only had 12. Before the war, we only had 3. The Eastern, Northern, and Western region leadership. Then a ceremonial president, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. After the war, we had 12 states with 12 governors, 12 vice governors, 12 permanent secretaries, very few local government areas. Now we have 38 governors. The corruption is exponentially just expanded. Now we have so many local government areas you can't even count. They have used American democracy to create an instrument of corruption that is raping the country, both socially and economically and politically. No manufacturing industry that I could boast of except for the car company in the Navy. Maybe a couple of Dangote cement factories or whatever, but that's about it. In Abia State, we have the Golden Guinea factories, it's no longer operational. We have the ceramic industry, it's gone. After the war, we built Lada in Nigeria. We had a factory in Nigeria, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Peugeot, all in Nigeria. And in no time, right after the military rule and the civilians came into power, next thing you know, the military came in for the next 15 or so years. Then the leadership with Obasanjo came back in, and it's been downhill ever since. All the industry is gone. It's all about the oil. There is nothing indigenously, economically, that we invested in. Look at tourism. It's an afterthought. Nobody cares. We knew about the Ousted pyramids. If I was governor in Abia State, I would have built one Ousted pyramid that is at least 400 feet tall, so that the whole world can come over there and spend their money visiting. This American democracy and parliamentary system and everything that we have adopted, we have become non-visionaries. We have no vision. We don't see anything about us that is worth flaunting to the world. And that's why the tourist industry, at least in West Africa, is worthless. At least Kenya with their wildlife, you know, I mean, it's working for them. Uganda over there, South Africa, you know, Tanzania, some of those areas with their wildlife. That couldn't be ignored, because whether they promoted it or not, the Europeans were going to come in there and hunt for those lions and the leopards and the skin and the elephant tusk. So, at the risk of losing all their natural, you know, resources, the animals in terms of tourism, they had to protect it, and so they had to organize it so that people just don't come in and just do what the hell they want to. And next thing you know, the population of the wildlife will be decimated. But us in West Africa, for example, nothing. I don't see anybody in Nigeria who wakes up one day and says, man, I've been working all day long, all year long. I'm going on vacation to Liberia. Or in Liberia and say, you know, I'm going on vacation to Cameroon. No, we're going on vacation to spend our hard-earned money locally, abroad. We don't even go to African countries to go spend it. How many Nigerians get up and say, I'm going to Kenya on vacation? How many do you know? If they end up in Kenya or South Africa, they're going there for economic opportunity because they don't have any job in Africa, in Nigeria. But how many Ghanaians get up and say, I'm going to a vacation to Mali? These are some of the things that we need to think about to generate economic opportunity from our own natural endowments. Before we start talking about minerals and having, listen, Nigeria has oil. and we brag about all the oil that we have in Nigeria. But Nigeria, as an economic supposed power in Africa, the number one GDP, we don't have the ability to navigate a ship, an oil tanker full of oil, to the United States, service that ship, and navigate that ship back to Nigeria. We don't have that capacity. That's why you have to have Agip, Shell, British Petroleum, Exxon, Texaco. We rely on other companies to do that for us. They own the ship. We don't own it. They maintain the ship. We can't maintain it. They get the oil out of Nigerian soil. They take it abroad. They refine it. Then they bring it back to Nigeria. Then sell it to you at a higher price. Now, Dangote, who is connected with the ruling class in Nigeria, is building a refinery. I don't know if it's functional or not at this moment. And I don't know how much threat that refinery is going to be to Exxon. Because if Nigeria has the ability to refine its own oil, we don't need Exxon, do we? The only Exxon we need is to sell them the oil so they could take the oil from Nigeria back to their own country, refine it in their own country, and sell it in their own country. They don't need to come to Nigeria and sell gas because we can refine it there. How long is it going to take before we see the light? How long is it going to take before everything is so messed up and lost that we cannot rebound from it? And that's the big question.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. There's a video that's kind of feeding to what you're saying, but I want to, was shared with me. Dibia Chiedozie shared it with me, and somebody else shared it with me as well. And Dibia Chiedozie, since you shared this video with me, I think it's important for people to hear what your take is on it, and then we'll add our own. But it certainly has to do with the topic of discussion today. So here we go.
Simili in Africa, ha voluto subito elezioni democratiche. Come ci spiega questo?
No, there are two dimensions of this thing. The first taking of power was not a question of taking of power. It was an attempt to contain the possibility of an explosion, okay? Because it was a military regime, and we had tasted every aspect of government: socialism, capitalism, one-party state, multi-party state, coups, etc. None of these regimes were accountable to the people. Finally, we ended up with a situation where we had lost faith, the masses had lost faith in civilian democratic government. The masses had lost faith in the military government generals who used to rescue us once in a while. They were also becoming as corrupt as whatever it is. So in effect, what we ended up with, that the country had grown disillusioned with civilian elected governments and everything. The country had grown disillusioned with generals who came to save us. And now the situation was ready for the possibility of an explosion. French Revolution, Russian Revolution, any revolution you've read about, it was a reality in my country. And it was dangerous because very often in some parts of the world, let's say in my part of the world, for instance, it is not the medium of education, the medium of respect, of merit that is used to govern people, but they use the medium of fear to terrorize the people into a state of subjugation. When you use fear, it degenerates into hatred, and hatred can blow up. So the country was on the verge of blowing up. And not that I disrespect the corporals and the sergeants and the lance corporals, but the point is that they were on the verge of now taking over power because the senior officers could not rescue the country. And quite frankly, had they done so, they would have butchered most of the officers because they saw the officers as part of whatever it was. So I want you to understand, we were running through dangerous times by 1979. So in moving in the first time, it was not a coup d'etat. I was trying to prevent a revolt, a mutiny, a revolution, a violent revolution. I tried to be as modest as I could to prevent it, and I ended up being arrested on the 15th of May, 1979. The very thing I was trying to prevent in 1979, a few weeks later, June 4th, 1979, from 15th May, 1979 to June 4th, the country just exploded. And it took us almost, the country was just craving and calling for blood. 3 former heads of state, 6 or 5 generals had to be executed to appease the bloodlust of the country. The military had to pay the price for it in order to prevent, an escalation on the civil front. The civil front was equally angry, but we had to use the military to contain them and to pay the price with the military. So, besides, we had a multi-party democracy, election in process within 3 months, and we couldn't stop it. We had to let it happen. So within 3 months after the revolt, we were able to hand over and we withdrew back to barracks. Okay? But the difference is that in withdrawing back to barracks, corporals, sergeants, officers had tasted freedom, had tasted justice, had tasted political justice. What a country must be like. So when we withdrew back to barracks, there was a way in which the new civilian politicians had lost. They had become oblivious to what took place. They had lost track of what took place. So they started misbehaving again. And this time, when people taste freedom, you cannot take it away from them again. So it was as if, this is not what we asked for. So they were getting ready to move back again. And I had the responsibility of taking that because I was seen as the hero type of thing. If I didn't, I would be indicted. If I didn't, somebody else angrier, very angry, would take it and it would be very disastrous. And assassination attempts on me, etc., the corruption by the government, the foolishness, etc. We had no choice but to step in. Otherwise, the revolt of 79, this time, would have repeated itself in 82, and it would have been worse and uncontrollable. So I had no choice but to come in this time. So this time, you can call it a partial revolt and a partial coup in order to contain the situation. So when you're talking about democracy, please, it may mean one thing to you here, but it means something else to some of us where I come from, my continent. I think in your country, look, let me just cite one little example. When we had to go into multi-party democracy, and I was invited to come and give a talk in a church house, and I said something which shocked our people. I said, I did not fear God. So the whole church was quiet and silent and shocked. And then I said, because I love God. Then they all exploded with happiness. So I turned it around and I said, how many of you are not afraid of your bosses at work? Most of you are very terrified and frightened of your bosses at work. And you don't like it, do you? The whole church was quiet. Thousands of people, big place. And then I went on to say that you're not happy with that, but back at home, your wives are just as afraid of you as you are afraid of your bosses. Your children are afraid of you just as you are afraid of your bosses. Do you like that? Would you not be happier if you had a relationship of respectability between you and your boss, vertically and horizontally?
Yeah, that's You cannot hold the people at gunpoint that don't want to be held. Chidozie, over to you.
Well, you just summarized the whole statement. I think it will have been better to allow the people's revolution to take place.
Yeah.
Because a revolution cannot be organized and governed by just a few. The other time I was listening to one major prophet, David Kinglow, and he was talking about the uprising waves that Africa is going to rise, that he is a Christian, and he's a Christian prophet, but what is going to happen in Africa is Africa is going to rise and go back to its ancient spirituality. He said along the line, foreign religions will be highly dealt with. But that he's not afraid. It is those who stand on the way of change that will be swept away.
Yes.
That truth is the mark of spirituality. And wherever you stand, you should stand to uphold the people's spirituality. And he said just exactly what we've been saying here, that until Africa goes back to spirituality, that it would not be able to gather not just the momentum, the focus. It will be denied the torchlight.
Yes.
To see through the path to follow.
Yes.
That is what that military intervention stopped. And that's what the military intervention these days are stopping.
Yeah.
Like Dibia Charger said, I am not too happy that the military are the ones trying to coordinate the so-called revolution. Our problem is not the resources. Our problem is that we were taken off, dislodged from who we are. Our problem is that of identity. Who are we?
Yes.
When we knew who we were, we lived in harmony with the plenty underneath and within our environment.
Yes.
But from the time we began to take to foreign religions, I think I wrote that in one of my monographs, faculty monographs. We see Askia the Great of Master Kankamusa of Mali, then later Askia the Great of Songhai, under the guise of Islam, went to foolishly, stupidly showcase the wealth of Africa in gold, and stupidly had to borrow money to return, and repay only when they got back home. So this spirit of squandermanism it resonates with the spirit of alienation, which is the loss of identity.
True.
That is what, once that is tackled, like we've kept saying on this program, that's what we need. Who are we? Because your spirituality defines the totality of not just humanity, the totality of humanity in tandem with the cosmic forces.
Yes.
Immediate and remote. It teaches you how to harness your environment, the wealth within your environment, and on a generational note, having in mind more of the unborn generation. And so knowing that the wealth of the nation is not just for people of today, but more for the unborn generation. The people of today are born to live cautiously, tread cautiously. But when you are dislodged from your spirituality, you become just like lousy lots, making noise and struggling for survival, which is what we are doing, and speaking grammar. That's what we do at conferences, trying to talk about those things that we have learned on paper, not those things that we have learned in culture, and in culture as tied to our spirituality. So we are not learning from nature, we are learning from book. And when we learn from book, we are limited to the book. And book knowledge is sheepish. It can't take us far. So that is what we require this time around. That's my little take.
It's not a little take at all. It's a whole lot of take. It's a beautiful take. And the only take that should be taken from this whole situation. It's just what it is. It's about human know thyself. That is the goal of education. It is only within the fulcrum of your culture that your education has meaning. You may have many doctorate degrees strung to your name as handles. But if you're ignorant about the spirituality of your race, which is the fulcrum around which the totality of human culture gyrates, you're simply a literate person, but you are alienated into the vineyards of others. You are a glorified servant. And that's what you have in African leadership, glorified servants who don't understand that the community comes before the individual. And like you said, and like we've always articulated on this show, if all human systems are products of religion, and what do I mean by human system? Your economic system, your social system, cultural, civic, educational system, all human systems are products of religion. And when you talk about being products of religion, you're talking about primordial religion of a people. The belief in Chineke, or ascribing creation to something greater than yourself, because you know that the life-sustaining forces, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the land you stand on, the sun that comes up, you didn't create it. So you ascribe that creation to something greater than yourself, and that something becomes Chineke, becomes God, Yahweh, Olodumare, Tamuna, Uvuzilele, Nkulunkulu, God in different languages, because diversity is divine. Different kinds of cats, lions, tigers, ocelots, house cats, different kinds of dogs, German Shepherd, Bulldog, all kinds of dogs, but they are all dogs. An innate understanding of the role of primordial religion in your economic and social opulence is critical in Pan-African thought process. And it is this Pan-African thought process that emphasizes unity and also understands that to create unity means that African people will have to give up a little bit of themselves for the good of the whole. So instead of sitting over here talking about the coup in Niger and in Mali, Africans should be saying to themselves, what can we do for Niger and Mali so that they can attain a level of economic independence and social structure necessary for nation formation, nation building, and nation management. Let's all come together as people of African ancestry in understanding why these coups are happening in Africa, and say, yes, for those that we understand why they had the coup, like Rollins so expertly stated in the brief video that we saw, let us help our brothers and sisters in these countries to unite, protect them, so that they can have the same opportunities that all the European countries have all over the world.
Yes. Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. You know what? Dibia Chedo, UD, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Dibia Chedo, thank you so much for sharing that. I know you're not feeling very well, and it's time for you to make your exit. Thank you. Please, no, we understand. We understand. Please, you know.
Thank you so much.
We'll be seeing you hopefully next Sunday. Thank you. The rest of you who joined us today, thank you for being here. You know, we can talk about what our leaders are not doing, but we need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? What role are we going to play? Don't be a standby. Don't stand by and watch things happen. You have to play a role. We all have a role to play. Write letters, call your your Congress, call the Senate, call whoever you have to call to let them know that you are aware of what's going on in your country, and it's not acceptable anymore. You know, don't sit back and wait for miracles to happen. Miracles don't happen. You are the miracle you're waiting for. So as Africa is changing, let us all become engaged. Let's get engaged economically, politically, and certainly spiritually. Remember, right where you are, God is in the midst of you every moment, creating divine order, because you are a divine being. So I just want to say, wherever you go today, stay safe. Do not let anybody define you. Define what you want to do and go about getting it happen. UD, thank you so very much. May Chineke guide all your efforts today until I see you next time. And I wish the same for everybody else. And Ukunna Charles, congratulations, Mr. Engineer. We are so proud of you.
Yes.
We're proud of all of you who joined us here. Please stay well. Remember, be proud of your Africanness. That is the blessing that Chineke gave you. And share this video. Share. And and if you do so, you know God is always going to bless you for being a part of making our program a success. Until then, I ask for opportunity right now, UD and I, to exit. And so it is. Everybody be well. We'll see you next week. Now, and again, I want